I think that the fact that Edward was killed in an act of terrorism, in a totally civilian environment, in a supermarket, shopping with a friend, rather than in some kind of military activity, obviously has a big impact. If he'd been killed in the Six-Day War, in military action, it would have been terrible and tragic, but one expects people to be killed in military action. But to be killed by terrorists going about one's life, just shopping in a supermarket, is not something that a normal person anticipates or expects. And I think that makes it somewhat harder to deal with.
One always associated terror with men rather than with women. Subsequently, of course, that all changed. Certainly my mother was quite horrified that a woman could perpetrate such a crime. When she was convicted, I do recall one thing. I recall my mother being, in particular my mother, being very angry that she was not given the death sentence and the death penalty, which does exist in Israel, which has never been enacted and implemented other than in the case of Eichmann. But the sentence is there in the statute books, and my mother really felt that this woman deserved the death sentence. She was a terrorist. Simply speaking, she was a terrorist. She committed the most terrible crime. She was found guilty of that crime, and unfortunately, she never paid the price.
These immigration forms, both the immigrant visa forms and the naturalization forms, are very clear and very specific in the questions they ask. They talk about, have you ever been arrested or convicted of crimes anywhere, ever, so that the immigration authorities can determine if they qualify under the law for the particular benefit.
There is no conceivable way in which anybody could claim that they did not understand or that there was any kind of nuance to the answers that one needs to give to those questions. How can one not correctly answer where one had lived? And there are at least a dozen or more questions of that nature that she just flat lied about. There's no conceivable excuse for that. I am myself an immigrant to the United States. We needed police clearance certificates from the police in South Africa to indicate we had no criminal records, fingerprinting. It was a pretty serious endeavor. And for me to think that she had been able to subvert that whole process and come to the United States and become a United States citizen was quite shocking to me.
When that interview takes place, the best outcome for all persons involved is to get the truthful, most accurate information possible. In every one that I've witnessed, the examining immigration officer always goes over each and every question very thoroughly, very carefully with the applicant to make sure they understand each question before the interview is over.